Bonjour, I'm Carson Morton, author of the novel Hunting Mona Lisa, a sequel of sorts to my novel Stealing Mona Lisa. In the early years of World War II, as the Germans blitzkrieged their way toward the open city of Paris, the curators of the Louvre Museum removed the most important artworks and hid them throughout France. Leonardo da Vinci's portrait of Mona Lisa was one of these artworks. To this day, a full accounting of its perilous journey throughout France during the war years does not exist. My book imagines one possible scenario. In the early days of World War II, the Louvre Museum was filled with activity as the museum's curators worked frantically to remove the most important pieces of artwork, crate them up, and spirit them out of Paris and out of the clutches of the advancing German army. Imagine the effort it took to disassemble and crate up the headless winged Victory of Samothrace. Imagine the Grand Gallery, denuded of artwork, nothing left but empty shadows where masters once hung. And of course there would have been an empty space here in the Salon Carré, the home of the Mona Lisa, until 2005. Now, of course, it resides on, or rather in, its own wall in the Salle des États, protected by a layer of reinforced glass. As you could see, it's rather small and difficult to get close to, unlike the magnificent Marriage at Cana adorning the rear wall. It was no easy task to roll this up and cart it around France for 5 years during the war. Hunting Mona Lisa opens in early June of 1940 when 15-year-old Adele Fournier desperately tries to convince her father, the head curator of the Louvre, to take her with him when he leaves for the south of France with the Mona Lisa. But he tells her that she must stay in Paris with her mother. Adele Fournier and her mother live in an apartment on the fashionable Champs-Élysées. In 1940, she looks through the window as the triumphant German army marches through the Arc de Triomphe. Adele Fournier's father takes the Mona Lisa, La Joconde, out of Paris into a small village in the south of France for safety. After he disappears, Adele must travel south to the small village of Ardèche, and that will be our next stop. In my novel, Hunting Mona Lisa, the Mona Lisa, known to the French as La Joconde, is ultimately hidden in a chateau in a small village in the south of France. This is where the now 20-year-old Adele Fournier goes in search of not only her father, but the world's most famous painting, Leonardo da Vinci's portrait of Mona Lisa, La Joconde. Because the village of Ardèche is fictional, I needed to find a real place to act as the model for my imagined location. To serve this purpose, I found not one, but 2 villages. I'm standing in front of one of the most beautiful villages in all of France, Bar-le-Duc. It serves as the location of my fictional village of Ardèche. Perched high above the deep gorge of the Ardèche River, its winding streets and curved passageways leads visitors back to its medieval past. As you can see, Bar-le-Duc is the perfect location, although I confess I moved the entire village to this side of the river. Artistic license. The story in my novel Hunting Mona Lisa had a few specific requirements, not the least of which was a river running through a deep gorge and an old stone bridge to act as a location of some of the most exciting action. The action in the climax of Hunting Mona Lisa involves an attempted escape down the river in a small boat before the French resistance, the Maquis, can blow up the bridge. Toward the end of the war, a local man wanted to dispel rumors that he was a collaborator, so he blew up one of the arches of this very bridge. The trouble was, it held no strategic value and didn't need blowing up. Bar-le-Duc, however, lacked one essential ingredient for my story: a climactic confrontation between the French resistance fighters and the Germans occurs in La Place, the village square. And as you can see, the village square in Bar-le-Duc is very small. So I had to travel 50 kilometers to the east, across the Rhone River, to the village of Grignon. I'm standing before the village of Grignon, in the shadow of the Château de Grignon, the magnificent castle around which the village grew. But the reason why I chose this lovely place as one of the models for my fictional village of Ardèche is below us, in the village square, La Place. This square, or place, is the perfect location for the climactic confrontation between the French resistance fighters and a column of German panzer tanks. It has everything a French village square should have. A hotel de ville, the town hall, cafes, a fountain, a dramatic ramparts road that winds up and around the castle, and something that made my jaw drop in amazement the first time I saw it. High up on a wall at the foot of the ramparts road, I found a stone plaque. Roughly translated, it reads, "Here in Grignon, on the 22nd of August, 1944, a detachment of the French interior forces ran into a column of German tanks. During the course of this engagement, 7 young combatants were killed." And it ends with this simple statement, "You who pass, remember." Clearly, I had found my location. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short visit to some of the locations in my novel, Hunting Mona Lisa. And I hope you enjoyed the book. A bientôt.